What's up, LEGO fans? We are back with another LEGO Masters Season 3 interview. This time we had the chance to catch up with John and Xavier, who are eliminated after episode 5 in Season 3. So the first question we were able to ask them was, how did each of them get into the hobby?
I think like it started really early. What they didn't show is like pictures of both of us playing Lego when we were super young. I think that was before they had the little age range of like, hey, kids this young shouldn't be playing with Lego. Yeah, I mean, I'm drawing a blank.
I'll speak for myself, right? Like, I was young, so I don't remember specific Lego sets that I had. I know there's like a video of me building like a little house, and I was being babysat when I was like 3-4 years old. And I think I've told this story before, but I remember like the babysitter was asking me and my sister to eat, get like lunch, and I was too busy building, and they have it on video, like a VHS. It was like, I don't want noodles. And it was like I just wanted to keep building. So it was, you always had that like that blue Lego briefcase, that really thick plastic one that you carried everywhere. But I never really got like crazy obsessed with it until like 1998. And I mentioned it before, the set that I got, 6558 Shark Cage Cove. And that was the first set. And that was enough for me, right? I built this, started playing with the set, tried to build stuff, didn't even realize there was instructions because I just looked at the back of the box, was like, I'm going to try to build that. That's really cool. And then just looking at that, and then looking at the catalog and seeing this amazing amount of sets that existed, and all these little worlds and micro stories that didn't have necessarily a story, but you can kind of just imagine what you can take from it, right? And that already got me going, and I was already obsessed at that point. So like literally less than a year later, right, like a substitute teacher asked the class what we wanted to do when we grew up, and I told her that I wanted to build a Lego and get paid for it, and she didn't understand what that meant, right? So but then when I look at like my journey later on, especially with John helped me getting back into it, because like I remember I was going through some like rough transition. I remember telling John when he was working at the Lego store, because I was bummed that I didn't get to work there because of things that happened. And I told him this too, but I told him like, honestly, when I was younger, all I wanted to do was build a Lego. So he eventually helped me get a job, get me back on my feet. And that kind of just got me where I need to be. Like I've had a lot of great experiences building with Lego. I've got to work at a Discovery Center. I was a master builder for that for a brief moment. I got to visit headquarters and meet Lego masters. I got to go to conventions and do a lot of experiences just for this thing that I was obsessed with when I was younger and still love now. Like we even got to meet the president of the company. Both John and I got to meet him at one point.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like it's crazy to imagine like myself as a kid just being obsessed with this one set, and that would just take me through this entire journey throughout my life to be able to have all these wonderful experiences because of this toy. And just like even being on the show is just, I don't know, it meant a lot. It still means a lot. And I know I'm going on a whole diatribe, but I don't know. There's so many experiences that I enjoy just because of the, this toy and this company. So I'm just very grateful for everything.
Second question, we don't get to see very much of the creative process that goes into a build. So for example, while you guys were building the dog in the last episode, can you give us a little bit of insight into the creative process and how you even start with something like that?
I mean, outside of talking with Xavier, like we started creating game plans. Just I think template wise, we're like, here's the concept. We'll spend 30 minutes there, and then we'll create like a prototype, just really quickly, and then we'll decide how to spend the rest of our time. I from what I remember that episode, it was like frame, legs, and then Xavier was the lead design on the sculpture of the face. And then you
Yeah.
kind of go ahead.
Yeah,
Xavier.
it was one of those things because like John is very good on smaller builds and he's packs a lot of detail, but trying to build on a bigger scale, like I'm more familiar with trying to make sure the frame is set. So it's just like, okay, cool. Let me try to make a frame that John can understand and just work with that. So then while he's working on that, I'm going to focus on the details of the face. And that was kind of the strategy that we had. We had tried to break it down in times, like periods of like, oh, where do we need to get this done? Where do we need to get that done? And then you realize how much little time you actually have or how fast time really passes. So it's like, oh man, I thought these 3 hours I would have been done, but it wasn't done. So it's like having to adjust. That's where it that's where it got a little bit difficult in that regard, right? So we did have a strategy. It's just, I don't know. It's again, just from earlier, finding that balance of like, how much time do we really need to invest on this versus making sure we hit those points and make sure it passed their criteria. And then we can focus on the finer details and presentation afterwards. And then I don't know, I'll take the fall for it. I kind of got a little bit caught up on the details aspect of it, but it is what it is. It's a competition, and then you don't really have a lot of time to make up for split decisions that you make that may not have been the best decision at that time.
Yeah, I think a learning lesson like postmortem is that if anyone that's
Oh my
like
God.
listening to get like a head up in terms of like advice and tips for Lego Masters is that when you're hitting the 1 hour, 2 hour mark before the build ends, run it through as if you were going to present to the judges and make sure you're solid there. Because the worst thing that will happen is that with like just like Xavier and I is that we didn't fully test the thing that it's supposed to do at the end of the day. And to don't lose sight of that.
Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge that you faced this season in Lego Masters?
So I don't know about you, John, but I think for the first couple of challenges, we were very fortunate to have tables closer to the brick pit. And the kind of way that both John and I build, we're definitely more of a mess around and find out type of things. Let's grab the pieces as we need. There's not a lot of preconceived pieces that like, oh, we're definitely going to need that. It's like, oh, we could use that. We could use that. So we could use that. All right, cool. And then our table's a whole mess, right?
Yeah.
And that benefit of being closer to the brick pit was definitely an advantage. And then like the later challenges, right? I don't want to say it's the only reason, but it was definitely an adjustment having to be more deliberate about the choices that we make when we do go to the brick pit. Cause it's like, we don't have a lot of time going back and forth. It's like, oh, I got to grab these pieces. Do we need them or not? And then, they're constantly trying to replenish too. So you can run there and look for the piece that you want and it's not there yet. So now you're like waiting and working on ideas. Like I was totally devoted to working on this right now, but I kind of have to pivot on working on something else. I feel like that was, for me, I think that was our biggest adjustment, trying to manage that was that was a big part.
Yeah. I think on my end it was a bit of nerves and balancing that between us. Like there was a lot of like I guess a little bit mental blockage because when we're both pitching ideas and we're trying to figure out like what the concept is, there tends to be like, is this enough? Is this and like is this what the judges are looking for? And does this like hit all the right beats? Go ahead, Xavier.
Yeah, to your point, right? Because like when you're so involved in the building, you're used to a certain way of building and what looks nice to you or what you feature. But again, building for a competition is much different. So like John would always provide that outside perspective and kind of have to help me reset a little bit of like, whoa, we're focusing too much on this. I need you to work on this. And it's a give and take too, because it's like sometimes John would have some crazy ideas and it's like, I love it. we don't have the time to do this.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like figuring out what we can do within the time that we have, and it's definitely a learning process in the moment. It's just not something you can really account for right off the bat.
What advice do you have for adults who are just getting back into or just starting the Lego hobby?
Find what you like the most out of a set and just kind of run with it. I mean, it's different for everyone. I think for me, I found a Lego set called it was an Exoforce set called Supernova. The number is like 7712, and that set really turned me into being like this mecha focused builder. I don't actually have a lot of photos, and I don't share those photos at all. I probably should upload them. And that kind of sent me into a journey of learning how to be a better Lego mecha builder. I ended up following a bunch of really talented Lego mock accounts and just trying to analyze their techniques and almost like break down, like reverse engineer like how they did it. That's kind of like my process of relearning how to build with technique. I remember when I was building on Lego Masters with Xavier, and he was like, I'm trying to remember the code, Xavier. It was like, oh, okay. This is not word for word. It's like, oh, it's time to stop playing. Let's start building. Something around those.
I don't remember saying that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I really don't remember saying
it was like we were like in a tense moment, and we're just like, all right, let's build. And there's a difference between playing and building. And I understood that immediately when building it.
Yeah. I would say for any adult getting back into the hobby, because in a sense, I kind of had to do that myself. Not to say I lost it completely, but just being immersed in that world, I wasn't immersed in it for a while, right? So just getting back into it, it's like find the sets that you would enjoy that you like. But I would also say don't stop there, right? Because you can build something and put it on the shelf and it looks great. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what got me really excited, like John mentioned, is seeing all the mocks that people would build, right? And when early on, when I started getting back into it, there wasn't really a lot of anime mocks online and stuff like that, or maybe here or there. And it's like, hey, that's really cool. I want to try to build my own. So I'm just going to take apart these sets and just figure it out, reverse engineer it. And it doesn't always come out the way that you want to do, but just being willing to figure something out to make something that you really would like to see, right? I wouldn't say wait for someone to make it for you, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to make something, there's nothing stopping you from trying to do that, and that's what I would say for anyone getting back into their hobby. Just start, just building. But if you want to make something on your own, take that next step.